Hello and welcome to the Profitable Coach Podcast. I'm your host, Kimberly Rich, and as the founder of the Bold Life Movement and a fellow coach for more than 7 years, I know the challenges that many of you face when launching or growing your coaching business. And I'm here to pull back the curtain on the coaching industry and help you overcome roadblocks to make the impact you were born to make. Each week, I'll be interviewing successful coaches from every corner of the industry to share exactly how they have managed to generate massive impact and income. From strategy to psychology, we cover it all. This show is presented to you by Transformation Academy, a global marketplace of courses and coaching certifications. So whether you are already part of our epic community or you're brand new to this show, if you're ready to learn what it takes to turn your passion for service into a profitable business, then keep listening. You are in the right place. Welcome back to the Profitable Coach Podcast. This is episode 37 with Candice Erickson and Ting Yarrington. And it's actually a super special, one-of-a-kind episode because we recorded it live from Colombia, where we have been at a 4-day business mentorship retreat for women. And it was so impactful. It was so powerful that I couldn't miss the opportunity to pick these women's beautiful, brilliant brains about what happens when you put yourself in proximity with powerful people in business, with people that are building what you want to be building, who share your mission, who share your heart. And so in today's episode, we break down poolside, mind you, we break down some of our top takeaways and we talk about things that you can do to really leverage proximity and to put yourself in the right containers, put yourself in a seat at the table, and trust that if you have the calling to be a coach, to be an entrepreneur, then it's meant for you. And it's really, really challenging to do it alone. So I highly encourage you to take this episode to heart and really start to put yourself intentionally in containers like this. So if you want to get access to all the show notes and the two women that I'm talking with today, then head over to theprofitablecoach.com/037. And without further ado, let's kick it off. Welcome back to the Profitable Coach Podcast. This is the first time that I've been able to do an in-person interview, and I'm so grateful. We are wrapping up 3 days at the Living Brave Retreat in Colombia, and these are two of my favorite soul sisters that I've connected with. They're brilliant, and so I'll allow them to introduce themselves in just a second, but I thought that it would be really potent to come off the high of a retreat and just talk about why it's important to put yourself in the room with other people that are doing what you're doing and aspire to what you're aspiring for, because being in a silo is no way to go. So please introduce yourself. We'll start with Ting.
Hello. My name is Ting, and I am a systems mentor, or I refer to myself as Daddy. And I'm so excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me on.
You're so welcome.
Hello, I'm Candice. I am from Australia and I specialize in marketing mostly. So I work with lots of coaches, typically 12 to 24 months old, to help them implement systems to attract, convert, and deliver in their business.
Awesome. So if you've been a long-time listener, then get really excited because both of these individuals we're going to do one-on-one interviews with coming in the next month or so. But today I just wanted to get them while I had them in real life and talk about some of the biggest takeaways that you've had from being in proximity with powerful women. That seems to be like the theme this week, is how powerful everyone is. So Candice, I'll let you kick it off. Like, what has been a really big aha for you being around this level, this caliber of woman?
Yeah, just as you were saying that, the first thing that comes to mind is not feeling alone and realizing, because the entrepreneur journey can be really lonely.
Totally.
And if you aren't at the point of hiring a team, or even when you are hiring a team, it's not necessarily the same connection that you get at this level. So it can be super lonely. It can be hard finding people that are doing the exact same things as you. And I've found on all levels of my entrepreneur journey that people start to fall away because as you keep growing and expanding, you just don't resonate with certain people in your life anymore, whether it's other entrepreneurs, friends, family. So being in close proximity means one, I'm not alone. Two, I have all these other people to learn from. Like there's women here that have traversed so much in their life and still come out miles on top. And I've heard things shared at this particular retreat, which I know have already saved me potentially years or hundreds of thousands of dollars in mistakes I might have made or trying to find my way on my own.
Yeah, 100%. So just to be very candid, we're at the pool. We are still in the retreat. So you're gonna hear people celebrating the pool. You're gonna see our friends crossing the paths. Maybe someone's gonna deliver us some lunch. We like to keep it real on the Profitable Coach, so it's perfect. That beautiful woman that you just saw walk is a future guest. So please introduce yourself later, Yerlin.
She's amazing as well.
Epic. Yeah, that was a really precious, perfect moment. So Ting, I would love to hear what has been like one of the biggest trajectory shifting conversations that you've had since being here.
Ooh. So, oh my gosh, how do you even pick one?
Fair.
It's amazing because I have to speak generally to this first, that conversations that you would have online, or even if you Googled something, especially early on because you're trying to figure things out yourself, it doesn't land the same way until you have it with someone who is at your caliber or at even a higher, like farther along on their journey than you, where they will say it and it will land in your body in a completely different way. And so you're like,
Yeah,
you hear the same thing. It's like, but what? Like your body suddenly, like the frequency raises, you entirely shift, and suddenly it all feels possible. So I have to reflect that first, because then if I have to choose one that really like shifted the trajectory for me, I believe it was because during this retreat, it was me really leaning into my own identity and women who allowed me to see, as I was chatting with a few people about like owning this new side of me. And it was like they already saw that this was possible for me. And they saw me and they're like, I see you in your full expression. And I've always seen this for you. And that is like, it's full permission, it's body chills, and it's like a release, like just resting into this space, like, I can be. And I can also be so much more than what I've ever pictured myself to be. And there's no feeling like it. There really isn't. Not like, of course, online you can experience that feeling too, but then when you get physically in the room with people and you're like, oh,
yeah, they see your potential and they kind of call you forward into it. And I feel like I was talking to someone when we first arrived. You know, one of the things I love about travel is that I look around on the plane or, you know, here at the retreat, and I believe that we're all cut from the same God cloth. And so I'm like, look at me over there with that trajectory and that lifetime and that personality and that family. And I'm like, wow, I must be having so much fun. Or like, wow, it must be really special to be, you know, leading that story, that timeline. And so I believe, this is getting a little woo for the audience, but that's totally fine. We bring it here. I believe that a part of our future self is in each and every one of these individuals here at the retreat. And they're just like reminding, hey, here's what's possible for you. Hey, here are the codes that we agreed lifetimes ago that you needed at this particular time. And as we were sitting having the closing circle here last night, right in the pool, my big breakthrough was like, we all belong. So anyone listening to this episode, even if they've had 10 clients or 0 clients or 10 million in their business, they belong in the room if they decide that they belong.
Yeah.
And I'm curious if either of you have had a moment where you had that realization that you did belong and previously hadn't felt so.
Yeah.
I have always felt that, you know, a little bit coming into this space with women that have only been a name on a screen up until now. And you like, you know, they're real people. And then you come here and you're like, oh, you're a real person. And I think it's the realization that we all sit here and the same insecurities, anxieties, problems, struggles, celebrations, happiness, relationships. It's all, like you said, it's cut from the same cloth. We're all the same. And you hear people's stories and you see them yourself reflected in them, and you realize like you were always meant to be in this room. And it was just a matter
100%.
of you taking that step into that room and trusting, like you said, that you have a seat at the table. And you always do have a seat at the table as long as you believe that there's one there for you. And the women at any level will see you for your potential, and they do not judge, they do not criticize, there's nothing of that sort here. It's just this, like, I see your heart, I connect to it. We're all here basically at the same starting line in many ways, and we're going to move forward together on this journey called life. And it's so powerful and so reassuring to know we're doing this together.
Yeah, totally. What about you, Candice?
Yeah, just to carry on from Ting there, like you'll never be judged by anybody doing more than you. You'll only be judged by people doing less than you. So in a higher level community, there is genuinely that like the hand reaching down. It's like, come with us. We see you for where you are right now. And it's a completely different energy. So go where you are celebrated and go where you are loved. And if you haven't found it yet, it does exist, and it might just take a little bit of searching. But if you're in any other community where you're not feeling that, I would suggest that, and I'm speaking from so much experience, that is not the right community for you, and others absolutely exist. For a long time, I didn't realize that others existed. This particular community, I mean, like I work outside of here with 7 and 8 figure business owners, and just seeing that they actually have the same fears and insecurities or the same self-doubt, but it tends to get a little quieter. Yeah. It's not so, like, as you go more and more on the journey and you just keep leaning into the fear and you keep expanding and keep realizing that you have the seat at the table, and you keep pushing yourself a little bit, the doubt and the fear gets quieter. And I've noticed for me personally, it gets further apart. So it's not happening so frequently. And then when it does happen, the bounce back is quicker, especially when you have a community like this. Like, you've got the tools and resources and the awareness, and your nervous system's calibrated to more of a new identity. So there's still bounce back every now and again. We still have all of our core stuff, but you just learn to deal with it at a different level. And that happens faster when you're around others who have also learned how to deal with it, and you're learning from them in real time.
Yeah, could not agree more. Yeah. And I shared this morning at our closing circle at breakfast that for me, one of the biggest reasons that I come to containers like this and that I chose the mentor that we've all chosen is her ability to humanize herself, and in containers like this, the inevitability to humanize the other individuals. We can pedestalize people when we see them online and think, oh, they can do that, I can't do it. They're older, or they're younger, or they're more privileged, or they're more this. And then you get here and you see in real life and you hear their stories and you realize, like, we all have stuff. And whether you're at the bottom or the top, you're going to have human things come up. And I think that that's a really supportive reminder as you're trying to grow, that you don't strive for this perfect conception that doesn't actually exist. Do either of you guys want to add to that?
Yeah, totally. Like, what comes to mind when you're saying that is this concept that people talk about all the time, the be, do, have. And it's so real. And I came here questioning, but how do you be when you're really not feeling it? And like, so that being the first step of the be, do, have. And it got answered for me at this retreat from women playing at a higher level. And it's all, the being is about the feeling. So you need to be able to bring yourself into the feeling, and I guess almost pretend that you have everything that you need right now, or find a way that you believe you have everything that you need right now. And then you're just adding to that. And like, once you can do the be and the do, you will have the success. And depending on how well you do those first 2 steps will depend on how quick the have comes. And it can like literally be a quantum leap, which is something people talk about a lot at the moment, which is like folding time in bringing results, which used to take people 2 to 5 years closer to you in like under 6 months.
Totally. And then just to add to that, one of the other top takeaways from this week was the idea that like if we just decide, it is done. And so I think we get in our heads a lot by thinking, what do I need to do? What do I need to do? What do I need to do? When really we should be asking, how do I want to be? And then if we just decide that that's how we want to be, and the byproduct of being that is going to be the things we want, and we've just decided it's done, then what to do kind of just shows itself.
Totally.
It reveals itself in the being. And I think it's so much easier to get out of your head and get out of the confusion when we ask that simple question every day. How do I want to be? I want to be open. I want to be loving. I want to be curious. I want to be considerate of others. I want to be of service. And then that dictates what I do.
Yeah, and being in environments like this has opened up more of, oh, I like that trait, and I like how you carry yourself in that way, and I like how you show up in your full expression with outfits, and you're not afraid to be bold and show that aspect of your personality. So yeah, it's super valuable.
I love that. Yeah. What about you, Ting?
Connecting to like what you're deciding to be, I think it's an incredible reminder at any point in this journey that you are not required to be perfect, and you are not required to have everything figured out. Because we'll tell you right now, at any level, all of these women do not have everything figured out. There are women who are starting out here, building their businesses. There are women making millions here, on track for billions. They don't have it all figured out. We don't have it all figured out. And that is full permission to accept the fact that you don't know. And that's part of this incredible journey. It's what makes this fun, is that you have a chance now to explore parts of yourself, explore how you want to show up, and then seek help. Because there are other women that want to, other people that want to be on this journey with you, want to learn, want to grow, want to share and receive what you have to offer at the same time.
Yeah.
And that is what allows us to grow. It's honestly, like full honesty, it's detrimental to try to keep everything to yourself. You're hiding your gifts. You're hiding what you can give and what you could receive in the space by trying to figure it out on your own. But just by getting in the room with people and realizing, accepting the fact that you don't have it all figured out and saying, I need help, or I want to learn, expands you just by asking.
Yeah. And I think the notion that anyone could have it figured out sort of implies that there's a way to do it. And there's not. There's no one right way. There's a million formulas and frameworks and approaches and perspectives and flavors. And being in this container has been such a really juicy reminder of that. Like you were saying, I want to try on this that you do. I want to try on this that you embody. I love the way you express yourself. And if we take all of these opportunities, not distractions, opportunities to go experiment in our business and really keep that playful, experimental mindset, then it can help us release any notion that we're ever doing it wrong or not having it figured out.
Yes.
Yeah. Is there anything that you plan to be implementing, whether it's the moment you get home, the moment you leave here, or in the coming weeks from being in this container?
Yes. I think for me, it's the full permission to play. Because I realize...
I love that answer.
Right? Because I realize when you think business, when a lot of people think business, they think it has to be strategic and structured and professional. And we don't do any of that, right? Like there's some bits woven in, and like this is our chance to shine, like to expand. And there is no set path for any of us, even if we all have the same title or similar like business model. Like it's just all different because we are different. And so it's like, what if I tried this? What if I play with that? And if it doesn't work, what can I try instead? And allowing both the failure to be the greatest lesson and chance to expand even more. And imagine that with everything that you play with, you find a way that suits only you. And then you get to teach your people that, hey, this worked for me, and you get to be on your own journey and expand in that same way, giving everyone the permission that this gets to be the best journey of your life, the most fun you've ever had, the most expressive you've ever been. And like, what a gift, not only to you, but to everyone around you, to the entire planet, to give yourself that permission to make this so much fun.
Yeah, I love that Shoshana, our mentor, always says, like, make your business your art. Make your life your art. You can't get art wrong. You can't.
Yeah, I was actually thinking those words when you were speaking, Ting, and I'm going to go a little bit quantum physicsy because
Please.
one of the it wasn't a new learning for me, but it had like a new depth, and that's how I see learning. It's like a spiral, and it starts small, and you keep circulating back over the learnings, but you get newer awareness and more expanded awareness as you're going up through the spiral. Yeah. So anyway. The quantum physics side of what I realized is that everything we do has an energetic frequency or imprint, and anything under a microscope, like the basics of this is that it would be shown as vibrating particles. So that means everything in the universe is vibrating particles, including our voice, our thoughts, our intention. But there's no human instruments that have been created that can measure that so far. Maybe there will be in the future. AI is outsmarting AI, so it could be coming, which is really cool.
Scary. Exciting,
Yeah.
All of it at the same time.
So everything's got like a frequency. So when it comes to coaching programs, when it comes to marketing, and when it comes to messaging, the frequency behind what you're promoting is what's important, and it will either be unconsciously felt or known. It might be a little bit consciously known for those that are more attuned to subtle energies, but it doesn't actually matter what your program's called, what's involved, what the marketing, what the messaging is.
Yes.
People will buy for different reasons to what you think you're selling them. And yes, we're all selling in the coaching space a transformation of some kind. Like there is like a physical destination that we're kind of getting to. It's like, you're here now, let's get you here, and as the coach, you're the bridge to fill the gap. But people are actually probably buying your confidence. They're probably buying your certainty or your belief in them more than they're actually buying that transformation or the name of your program. And that is what needs to be coming through all of your marketing. So if you're a new coach and you're not really selling, or you're struggling to get leads, or like those things that can happen in a new coaching business, you need to work on what's really alive and true for you. Why did you become a coach? What's the thing that you could literally spend hours talking about? What have you developed mastery in? And speak about that, and then see who comes, more than focusing time on like, well, who's my perfect avatar client? Like, what's the name of my program? What's all the details in the Don't worry about any of that. Like, just show up and start speaking and see who comes, because when you start speaking about what's important to you, you will attract the energetic match for your frequency, and it will be so much easier. And then develop the program based on the feedback that people are giving you when they're coming to you and what they're responding to.
The beautiful soul who walked across when we were talking earlier here, Lynn, our conversation in the pool yesterday was maybe one of the most like mind expanding ones I've had this whole week. And we were asking about how she generates leads. And she was like, I don't generate leads. This woman's made millions in her business in a very short amount of time. And I'm like, what do you mean you don't generate leads? She's like, I just live my life, then I share my life, and I share what the lessons were, and I tell good stories, and then people just come and they say, how do I work with you? How do I learn from you? And I was like, Yerlin, that's going to really infuriate a lot of people. And she's like, it just helps. I don't know. It's just my art. I'm just leaving a legacy for my family. And I was like, that's a why.
Yeah.
She's so connected to her why that she is being the frequency that is the beacon for all these people who are meant for her medicine.
Beacon is such a great word. And I've actually learned this the hard way. I started out that way because I've got a background in trauma counseling. I could see people struggling through COVID. And I do natal astrology reading. So I started giving people were wanting answers about their life and what do I do. And so I started doing astrology readings, and I realized very quickly it was turning into counseling sessions. My sister gave me that feedback. And so I started just showing up online and talking about mental health and like ways that you can help yourself at this weird time in history. Yeah. And the work started coming. Like I actually made money unintentionally. And then And then it was so easy. Like I had like my first month was $14,000. My a couple of months in, I had a $36,000 month. A year in, I had a $196,000 month. And then I'm like, I got the fear crept in, and I stopped showing up in that way. I worked with a coach who was all about like systems and structure, and I'm like, oh my God, I got to systemize everything, and I've got to make this
tried to fix what wasn't broken.
Yeah. Because it was a little bit cash flows up and down in business, particularly in coaching. It was a bit up and down, and I was getting stressed with having all these people come in, and then I've got to be of service. So my system wasn't amazing, but I changed that part of my model, which was just showing up and talking about what was on my heart. And then it did get harder to get leads. And so I learned that the hard way. So yeah, Yolyn and everybody who's doing that is the actual way to do it.
Yeah, thank you. Ting, do you want to add to that?
I do, because I do actually have my own experience from this, because for context, I was a VA, I was a virtual assistant and an online business manager for a while, and I still am an online business manager. And I wanted to launch my first ever, I was doing one-to-one, just like working retainers with coaches. And I realized I really wanted to step into my own coaching role and launch my first ever group program. And I got caught up in my head a little bit at the beginning. So I'm like, can I even do this? Are people used to hearing me say these things? Like, do people even want to learn from me when I'm so used to living in the shadows? And what I decided is, screw it, I'm going to have a blast. I'm going to have fun showing up, because I am in love with what I do and I really believe in it. And so I just started showing up on social media, dancing around, playing, sharing I was recording this video here, talking about this over here. This is what my client just created. And people started coming in. And I'm like, well, that's kind of cool. That's kind of fun. And I asked for feedback. I was like, what drew you to the program? Like, what do you love? What's in it? And they're like, you know what? I don't really know what's in the program. I was like, what? Because again, I am a systems mentor. So I love the systems and I love the structure. And I also do encourage my clients to make sure the whole reason that exists is so that they prioritize their energy and showing up in their full expression. Yeah. And they were like, shockingly, for your systems, we actually loved you. I want to know what she has.
Yes.
And I want in on that, whatever it is. And then they come in and then their minds are blown, because they're like, oh, wait, we can play with this and try this. And that's where her energy comes from. Now we get it. Now we can really play with it. And so it was so cool to see that reflected back to me, and getting those messages of, I love your energy. I love the way you're alive, and just sharing you authentically. That's what draws us in.
I love that. It's really beautiful. So I'm conscientious of the fact that people got flights to get to. We've got flights. We could do this all day, but we got to eat lunch. We got to catch flights. So if you found this valuable, which I'm confident that you did, then definitely tune in when we have the longer episodes with both Ting and Candice, and I will link up in the show notes places that you can go ahead now and go follow them and start learning from them and be in their world, be in proximity. So thank you guys so much. I'm so grateful for your wisdom, and I can't wait to dive in even deeper. I love you both.
Thank you so much for having us. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, Kimberly. Love you too.
Love you. Amazing. Thank you so much for listening to this fun episode. I hope that you appreciated the jungle sounds and the sounds of laughter from the other participants in the background. And it was just such a good time to kind of practice what we're preaching, right? Leveraging the opportunity, being in person with one another, picking each other's brains, and really dropping in and getting the support that is really hard to get when you are trying to build your business by yourself at home in your office. So I really encourage you, take this episode to heart. Go check out the show notes, theprofitablecoach.com/037. And if you want to get more connected to both Candice and Ting, you can get all their information there. Do me a favor, if you liked this episode, hit subscribe, leave me a review, shoot me a DM over on Instagram at @KimberlyRich. I love hearing from you guys. And with that, I'll see you on the next episode.